On November the 23rd, 1947, just a few days before the inauguration of the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium, Real Madrid became the first team to use numbers on the backs of their shirts. That was 60 years ago, and so now seems like a good moment to look at some of the greats who've worn the numbers 1 to 11. Number 1, Bullo and Casillas. As well as being two great goalkeepers in the history of Real Madrid, both had big personalities, which made them idols for the fans. Bullo was at the Bernabéu between 1986 and 1997. While aged just 26 years old, Iker Casillas has already played more games than Alfredo Di Stefano, and he has time to play a lot more. Two number ones, and not just thanks to the number on the shirt. Number 2, Marquitos and Chendo. 5 European Cups with the number 2 that he wore on his back between 1954 and 62. Not many right-backs can say they've done that. Marquitos even scored in Real Madrid's first ever European success. 2 decades later, Chendo, today the club delegate, made the number 2 his own for 16 years, winning, among other things, 7 league titles. Number 3, Camacho and Roberto Carlos. The two players we've picked from the many who have worn number 3 on their backs were both known for their passion. And if you're talking about passion, fury even, then there is nobody better than Camacho. Another who spent 16 seasons at the club, the man from Murcia made his shirt his own in the 70s and 80s. In the 90s it was a turn of Roberto Carlos, the non-Spanish player who has the most appearances for the club, 370 in the Liga. Donato and Carpin are the only two foreigners who've played more games in Spain. Roberto Carlos, a terror for opposing wingers and fullbacks. Number 4, Piri, Hierro and Sergio Ramos. The first great number 4 of Madrid's history won no fewer than 10 league titles. Piri was with Real Madrid for 16 years, between 1964 and 1980, and was a guiding light for 2 other players who have since worn that shirt. Perhaps the most famous is Fernando Hierro, a rock in defence and a leader out on the pitch. He won 5 leagues and 3 European Cups. The current owner of that shirt would like to go the same way, and if Sergio Ramos continues his Madrid career the way he began it, there's no reason why he won't. 2 years at the club and already a hero for the fans, be it at right back or in central defence. Number 5, Santamaria, Benito, Sanchis and Zidane. The number 5 is usually worn by one of the central defenders. Such was the case with Santamaria and Benito, and by Sanchis for most of his career. Santamaria played an average of 45.5 games a season, while Benito wore it when the Beatles were top of the pops. Sanchis, meanwhile, was the owner as Real Madrid ended that long drought between European Cups number 6 and 7. He also wore it for number 8. When Zidane arrived in 2001, the shirt changed character. No longer in possession of a defender, it was on the back of the most stylish midfielder around. Creative, instinctive and talented. You have his goal in Glasgow as proof of that. Number 6, Zaraga, Del Bosque, Gallego and Redondo. A Real Madrid number 6 has usually played like an Argentinian number 5. That's to say, a holding midfielder who allows his companions to surge forward and create attacking football. In the 1950s, club captain Zaraga did that, leading his team to 5 European titles. Del Bosque, who held the role in the 70s and the 80s, stepped up to become a legend in the dugout. Gallego played that role while scoring 22 league goals, and as for Redondo, well, he was effective and elegant, and he was able to wear the number 5 for his country, Argentina. Number 7, Kepa, Amancio, Juanito, Butragueño and Raúl. Number 7 means goals for Real Madrid, and that is what our 5 chosen players have given to the team. Kepa scored 155 goals in 103 official games, while Amancio did better, scoring almost 200 between 1962 and 1976. He won 9 league titles and was Pichichi on 2 separate occasions. One of his pupils from Castilla, Emilio Butragueño, hovered around opposing penalty areas for around a decade. He looked like an angel, but he had danger in his boots. Meanwhile, there isn't much that needs to be said about the man who currently wears number 7 on his back, Raúl González Blanco. 30 years old and with nearly every record broken, He scored nearly 100 goals in 625 games. Number 8, Michel and Schuster. Real Madrid's most famous number 8 joined the club in 1976 when he was just a boy. He went on to make almost 700 appearances for the first team, making the right wing his own. Few people were able to cross the ball as well as Michel, who, as well as setting up his teammates, also scored 178 goals himself. Michel is now in charge of the youth system. Bernd Schuster, number 8 between 1988 and 1990, made just 88 appearances, but they were nearly all memorable. He's now in charge of the first team. Number 9, Di Stefano, Santillana, Hugo Sanchez and Ronaldo. In any team, the mythical number is the number 9, and it's usually found on the back of their striker, the man who scores the goals and the one who grabs the headlines. Things are no different at Real Madrid. Di Stefano has to be the benchmark. He was Pichichi on 5 occasions and scored over 400 goals, some of them rather special. In the 70s and 80s, it was Santa Maria who was the closest to the opposition goal. He spent 18 years with Real Madrid and is best remembered as a player who knows how to use his head. And if Santa Maria scored goals, who can forget Hugo Sanchez and his celebrations? We saw him do his backflip 251 times for Real Madrid. Acrobatic, instinctive and lethal. He was Pichichi 5 times between 1985 and 1992. And from a Mexican, we moved to a Brazilian. He wore the number 11 when he first joined the club, but Ronaldo soon claimed the number 9, a striker who scored goals almost by instinct. Number 10, Puskas, Velázquez, Stilica, Martin Vázquez, Laudrup and Figo. The number 10 shirt speaks for itself. The playmaker, the man with the talent in his boots and the vision in his footballing brain. The man who makes the team tick in the final third of the pitch. Puskas was the top scorer of the 20th century. His mantle was taken up by Velázquez in the 60s and 70s and carried further by Stilica straight afterwards. The 1980s saw Martin Vázquez come through to show all of his class, the stylist of the Quinta del Butre. The 90s had Michael Laudrup, a genius on the pitch and a gentleman off it. 2 years were enough to make him a Madrid legend, and we can't forget Luis Figo, who followed the same route to Madrid as the Great Dane, winning 2 leagues and a European Cup. And finally, number 11, Gento and Valdano. Only one player in history has won 6 European Cups, and if you add 12 league titles to that, you're talking about a legend. Wearing the number 11 on his back, that is exactly what Paco Gento did. He played 761 games between 1953 and 1971, scoring 253 goals in the process. Incredible numbers for an incredible player. Valdano wore the number 11 in the 1980s, in a spell that saw him mix typical Argentinian aggression with a will to always give the ball the best possible treatment.